O people of South Africa, we salute you. You seized the torch of humanity, lifting it high. A lone flame illuminated Gaza's sky. Before the oppressor's eyes, a symphony hummed, echoes of South Africa's struggles, triumphs, and drums. With bravery, you danced again in relentless fight. This time for freedom, for justice, for the Palestinians' birthright. O people of South Africa, you are the beacon in the darkest night, guiding the world with your unwavering light. In the tapestry of struggles woven with pain, your scars echoes a battle in how to break apartheid's chain. The cradle of the brave is engraved in your veins. The pulse of freedom is in your DNA, like a determined hurricane. Blood-soaked soil from which you stand tall, centuries enslaved, yet you reconquered justice for all. The land of the gold is the yellow in your flag, it's told, now stands for people with the heart of gold. From Robben Island's whispers to Mandela's dream, a nation's restoration, a supreme unbroken seam. Let the winds carry the tale of courage and pride, from the orange river's flow to the Palestinian side. Once again, you fought against apartheid. By standing up for what's right and holding the oppressor accountable for genocide. O people of South Africa, you are the canvas of vast dreams, a legacy of the past, a future that gleams. Your nation's honor stands tall. United, you conquered the hearts of us all.
Beautiful poem, folks. Very succinct, very sincere, very sad, but a beautiful poem nonetheless. And yeah, I'm still talking about this issue, folks. I'm talking about it because it's so important. A lot of people might not realize that what's happening in Gaza has the potential to bring down the entire control grid. It really does. It's exposing everything for what it is. It's exposing our governments for what they are. Certainly exposed Israel for what it really is and what its true agenda is. And a lot of people are picking up on this. I mean, there are millions of people who'd never really looked at the control grid before. People we've been trying to wake up gently by presenting them the facts in a gentle way for years, that are now seeing the situation in Palestine and in Gaza and realising that they've never really looked at it before. All they ever did was believe what the television told them. But now they've looked at it, they can see the evil that rules this world. And it's a good thing.
Hamas.
Free Palestine, because they're being put through a genocide at the moment, so I mean, free Palestine. I've been a genocide for 75 fucking years. I didn't know enough about it before October 7th, and now that I do, it's just like so clear, and I think a lot of people are really talking about it, and you can tell the pressure is being put on.
By the public especially, more than people in power.
Yeah, they don't admit it,
but people can see it.
Yeah, it's really making a difference, folks. People are getting this, and that's why it's so important. I've often said that the situation in Gaza could change the world if people were to put some focus on it. It's the key to freeing humanity. I've said this for the last, at least 10 years I've been saying this, folks, ever since I was in Gaza in 2012, and I saw the situation for myself on the ground. And as I've said, Gaza Strip is even shaped like a key. Kind of a weird key, but it's still shaped a bit like a key. Interesting that keys form such an important part of artwork in Gaza Strip as well. Like everywhere you go, you see artwork centered around keys and locks and chains, and the fact that they're held in this prison and they're just looking for the key to escape, and all they want to do is live their life in dignity. And a lot of people are getting it, folks. There has been huge rallies right around the world. We saw one online the other day, and people saying, "Thank you, London stands with Israel." And they had this picture of this rally. There would have been maybe 6,000 to 10,000 people. I mean, they're saying there's 10,000, so I'd say there was probably about 6, because they always exaggerate things. And when it's a pro-Palestinian rally, they'll say there are thousands when there's actually millions or whatever. But there was a rally in London the other day. Like I said, maybe 6,000 people. They're saying it was 10,000 people. But bear in mind that at least half of that crowd is paid to be there. Israel has actually been advertising for people to come to their rallies. It'll give you $250 plus travel expenses to come to one of their rallies. And in the same city, like the day before, a couple of days before, there were 400,000 people at least out there rallying for Palestine. They'll say this is a pro-Hamas rally. No, it isn't a pro-Hamas rally, it's a anti-genocide rally. And they'll say the Israeli rallies are pro-freedom. No, they're not. They're actually pro-genocide rallies. It's just that the people haven't figured that out yet. But everything is backwards. But it's really waking a lot of people up, folks. This whole situation in Gaza is waking a lot of people up. And Gaza, again, is just being completely devastated. Look at the central Gaza compared to what it looked like. It's just outrageous.
شوارع مبادة في حي الشجاعية، حجم الدمار هائل.
Even the houses in Gaza, there were some beautiful places in Gaza when I visited there in 2012. I mean, for all the fact that it's a concentration camp, it's an open-air prison. People say, well, if it's a prison, why are they living so well? Why have they got such nice houses? Well, they do what they can with it. But Israel's had them under blockade since 2007. They're not allowed to bring anything in. When Israel says, oh, we gave them all this money and they spent it building terror tunnels. They're not terror tunnels, they're just tunnels, and most of them were built by Israel. We've already established this. They built tunnels everywhere. It wasn't just under Al Shifa Hospital. They built tunnels under other hospitals. They built tunnels all over the place. Most of the infrastructure, the underground infrastructure that Israel is discovering and exposing to the world, is stuff that they already knew was there because they built it. And I've shown you that video of Edward Barak saying that, yeah, we built these tunnels. I mean, they admit it. So, you know, theatre for the masses, folks. But people don't get both sides of the story. Interesting, Hamas has been blocked on Twitter, or X now it's called. All of this pro-Israeli stuff is all over the place. Like, Twitter is literally flooded with pro-Israeli propaganda. It's unbelievable, folks, but it shows just how much they're clutching at straws and how desperate they are. They've got to do this. They've got to post this propaganda like every hour of every day there's another post, sometimes multiple posts in an hour from multiple people. We're all being paid thousands of dollars to make these posts. I mean, they've been advertising that as well. If you change your stance to pro-Israel and you use the tags Stand With Israel and Hamas is ISIS, they will pay you $5,000. I don't know whether it's a weekly thing or whatever, but all these people are being paid to post, folks. And the beauty of it is that the more they post, the more they're just helping the process of waking people up and move forward. You know, a lot of people just don't believe anything Israel says anymore, and it's true, folks. You can't. It's a great meme I saw that if you tell a lie often enough, it becomes Israel. That's pretty much the way it is, folks. It's such a false reality they're pushing, false history, and that's the reason, one of the reasons I think they've left it till now to do all this, because they've brought like 2 generations up feeding them completely false history. A lot of the people in Israel that you can go in to try to argue with and tell them that the place is actually Palestine, they'll tell you Palestine never existed. They'll tell you that Israel has been there for thousands of years, and that in 1948, when they decided to move home, then all of these Arabs invaded and tried to stop them doing it. This is literally what they're taught in Israeli schools, which is completely false. But you can't talk to them about it because they've got history books that tell them all this stuff. This is what they learn in school. As I've often said, that film Defamation, you can go and look at that. You'll find a link on my website in the recommended viewing section. You'll find a link to all sorts of stuff there, folks. You'll find links to Europa, The Last Battle, The Greatest Story Never Told, which is the story of World War II from the German perspective. You'll find all sorts of stuff. This film Defamation, you'll find all sorts of stuff in the recommended viewing section on my website, folks. And it's really worth looking at, a lot of it. But all of this stuff is serving to wake people up. People are seeing the lie for what it is now. And you've got to understand, it's Israel, it's these people who control all of our governments in the West, who lead us into all of these wars that we've been having for the last 80 years. All of these wars, they formed United Nations after World War II, apparently to prevent any more wars happening, to prevent anything as heinous as World War II ever happening again. World War I and World War II was basically the one war, just a big lull in the middle, and it was created by the men with small hats in order to get Palestine. That was the plan. That's always been their plan, folks. They've wanted to get this little sliver of land for a long time. One of the reasons, I mean, they can claim that Judea is where the Jews come from when it's not. I mean, it's simply a tribal area. There were 12 tribes of ancient Israel, and Judea was one of them. They're saying Jews come from Judea. Well, if that's the case, what about all the people from all the other 11 areas within Palestine who don't come from Judea, who call themselves Jews as well? How does that work? There's actually a great report that I posted on Twitter yesterday called Israelis Are Not Indigenous, done by an Australian guy, and I recommend you go and check it out. I'll put a link below. I won't play you any of it here. It goes for like 30 minutes, and he kind of rambles a little bit, but he gives a really, really good report of what is going on here. So just put up with it and listen to what he says and go and research his stuff for yourself, and you'll find that they have absolutely no claim. Even the claim that they're indigenous, they're not even using the correct terminology of what indigenous means. The whole DNA links, he goes through the whole lot and explains it. It's a very good video, folks. I'll flash it up on the screen here, and I recommend that you go and check it out for yourself. It's about 30 minutes long, so it's not a long video or anything, and it will really educate you on what they're saying and just how false it is. Like I said, folks, it is said that if you repeat a lie enough times, it becomes Israel. And that's a good documentary to let you know what's going on here and just how bogus all their claims are. But everything that's happening, this is waking the world up, folks. And like I said, you've got to remember, these are the people who control all of our governments, lead us all into these fake wars, get us all under control. These are the people who rolled out the scamdemic. These are the people who've rolled out the surveillance system. These people have done so much damage to the world, folks, and what they're doing now in Gaza is waking people up to that. And as I've said, if we don't heal this, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And a really good indication of that is the fact that the world is basically run by Western governments. I mean, you know, we have more say in what goes on anywhere than any other governments, because the United States has got all the bombs and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, that's the way it goes again, and it's run by Israel. And no one can stand up against Israel because it's got the United States there at its back all the time. And the United States literally feeds it billions of dollars, like billions per year. It's outrageous. You know, it isn't just the defence budget and the defence aid, there's all sorts of other stuff as well. Plus they've been milking Germany for 70 years for reparation for the Holocaust, which didn't happen. And again, folks, I recommend you go and look at Nick Kollerstrom's book, Breaking the Spell, which will give you a really good rundown of actually what the lie is all about and how they pulled it off. So yeah, it's worth checking out, folks. And the Israelis themselves, I mean, the propaganda videos they've been putting out, the TikTok videos and stuff that they put out, showing them destroying residential areas and whole suburbs, and proud of it, taking a home movie for their family.
זה בום.
עם ישראל חי.
Videos that have come out showing them breaking into safes and strong boxes in Palestinian homes. Other videos that have come out showing them mocking children. There's one woman, I mean, a destroyed child's bedroom. They probably murdered all the children in the bedroom. And there's her partying around this room, showing how great it is to be mocking the children that lived in the room.
פה? מה את עושה פה? מה את צריכה מקום לישון? הנה, יש לך כרית. זה המיטה של פתחי טיז. הנה, מביאים לנו אוכל. הנה, באו להביא לנו אוכל.
This is the sort of stuff they do, folks. There's another one where they got little children's bicycles, and these soldiers are riding on children's bicycles in the room where they just murdered the children. You know, people are seeing all this sort of stuff, and you know they're exposing themselves by their own stuff. That's how stupid a lot of them are, these soldiers. I mean, they're not going in there and doing the right thing at all. They're pretending that they are. Oh yeah, we're sending food trucks in and Hamas is hijacking them all. And they show one video of a truck driving away. It looks like it could be a Hamas guy on it. It could simply be an Israeli holding a Kalashnikov. I mean, he's kind of holding the gun in front of his face so you can't see who he is. It could be an Israeli, you don't know. But even if it is Hamas taking a truck, well, that's one. That's one, and the area it's moving through, there's not a lot of people around there, so it doesn't look like they're hijacking a truck and stealing it from the Palestinian people. Even if they're bringing in food aid, it makes sense that those fighting the battle, and as I've said before, the people on the ground in Gaza, the people in Hamas on the ground in Gaza are legitimate freedom fighters. Not like the people in Qatar who are egging everybody on and saying, yeah, we're going to keep attacking and we're going to keep doing massacres and we're going to keep doing all this sort of stuff. These guys are paid by Israel. The leaders of Hamas are fully paid by Israel. Israel will complain, oh, these guys have got billions of dollars. Well, yeah, they know that because they sent it to them and they gave it to them. But these guys don't represent the people on the ground in Palestine and Gaza at all. The people on the ground in Gaza are legitimate freedom fighters, folks. They're fighting for their freedom. They don't have a choice because Israel's just going through and killing everybody that it can. They say this is a war against Hamas, but it's not. It's a war against Palestine in every aspect that you can imagine it. But yeah, they showed one video of a guy on the truck. The reality is when you bring these trucks in, they are just mobbed by Palestinians trying to get food. Yeah, pretty drastic stuff, folks. And they say they brought in 90 trucks or something the other day, and then they show one with a guy driving off and a guy in the back saying Hamas is hijacking it all. I didn't see 90 trucks there that they were driving away in. I saw that truck and I saw one other truck that the people obviously swamped, and as soon as they started trying to get food from it, the Israelis started shooting at them.
مدى القوات الاحتلال وتقع على الناس.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, folks. Of course, Israeli propaganda will tell you, this was Hamas shooting at the people because Hamas doesn't want the people to get food. Well, that makes no sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. It wasn't Hamas shooting at it, it's Israelis shooting at it. They're shooting at everybody, folks. They shot a 17-year-old boy the other day, a dear friend of my friend, Nadal. He sent me a message and I posted his picture. His name was Yazan. He was a swimming coach, had aspirations to be an engineer, like wanted to do all sorts of things, just loved life, loved children, loved being able to help the kids. All the kids wanted to be taught under him, and they shot him because this, of course, is a war against Hamas. He was shot by a sniper, folks. Wasn't even in the heat of battle. He was shot by a sniper, and this is the letter that Nadal sent me. Heart-wrenching stuff, folks. Heart-wrenching stuff, and that's going on in Gaza every day. Children are being killed. At least 10 children are dying every day in Gaza. They've killed 13,000 children now. The official figures, they tell us what the official figures are. I'd say it's probably double that, because they're not counting the people that are buried under the rubble. They've killed 20 to 30,000 people minimum, and at least 40% of them have been children. I'd say about 60 to 70% have been women and children. Pretty drastic stuff, folks, but all of this is serving to wake the world up to what we're really dealing with. And like I said, this is all supported by Western governments. The West is the one who is funding this and supporting it. Joe Biden could remove funding from Israel and stop giving them weapons, and it would stop the war tomorrow. They're saying, oh, we've pulled out this division and that division and rah, 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 but they're still ethnically cleansing the whole strip. I mean, they're talking about settling it. They're talking about taking it over completely. They want all the Palestinians removed. We know what's going on, folks. And it's not just Gaza, as I've said before, it's all of Palestine. And it's being supported by all Western governments. As I've said, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. You look what's happening in all of our countries. They're talking about disease X now is going to come out this year. Disease X, nothing to do with X on Twitter and the X, SpaceX, and everything's an X really, isn't it? Disease X will, of course, be when they crank up the 5G system. All of these nanobots and this graphene and all this shit that's in people's bodies is going to start killing them, and they're going to start hemorrhaging. You'll have people probably having Marburg type symptoms and, you know, hemorrhaging blood and all sorts of shit. And they're going to say it's disease X, and they're going to try to use it as an excuse to lock people down, when really what it is from the jab. Some of the stuff's been coming out, like Dr. Peter McCullough said he's been pulling 2-foot long blood clots out of people. He's going, how is a blood clot 2 feet long? How does this work? A little blood clot will kill you. What, you get a 2-foot long blood clot? How does that happen? How does any of this happen? And why is it when we pull them out and wash them, they all look kind of yellow? They don't look like blood clots. They don't look like blood. So, you know, a lot of people are getting it, folks. A lot of people are figuring it out. But this is what they're planning on doing. But yeah, I've been going hard in West Bank, folks. Like I said, it's a war against all of Palestine, not just a war against Gaza. It's ethnic cleansing. It's the genocide of the Palestinian people. They shot a guy going home the other day. He was opening a gate to let someone else through a checkpoint. An old woman who was driving a car. Oh, hang on there, I'll get the gate for you. And as soon as he went through the gate, he was shot by a sniper hiding on the side of the road. Yeah, killed for going home. Got a couple of children, got a wife, got a family. Now he's dead at a crossing. All the talk of human shields. We've got to do this because Hamas is using human shields. We've got to bomb residential areas because Hamas is hiding under them. They're using human shields. That's not even the definition of what a human shield is, folks. A human shield is someone who's been put in voluntarily against, you know, in front of a soldier to take the flak if someone shoots at them. What's happening in West Bank right now is the Israelis are using Palestinian civilians as human shields.
ضغط دم حمدان الولد ضغط دم حمدان لك الكت صاحبي لي سيده شوي خلاص سوينا درب
First of all, on the question of human shields, there is no question that Hamas hides in civilian areas. That's as a result of the imbalance of power where Israel has fighter jets that fly in the sky and a massive regular military force. But the issue of human shields, the definition of human shields is holding civilians against their will and putting them in front of you in combat to deter enemy fire. And the only party in this conflict that has ever done that, documented by major human rights organizations and a matter of fact, is actually the Israeli military using Palestinian civilians, including children, as human shields. That was a matter of policy from 2000 until 2005. The Israeli Supreme Court said that has to come to an end in 2005. The Israeli military protested that decision because it is very useful for them to continue using Palestinian civilians as human shields. And even though the Israeli Supreme Court banned it, The Israeli military continues to use it to this day. There have been numerous occasions documented by Human Rights Watch, by Amnesty International, and other organizations. And it tells you what this lie is ultimately about. Because if it is true that Palestinian militants do not care about the lives of Palestinian children, then what is the point of the Israeli military using Palestinian children as human shields when they are in these confrontations? So that is simply a lie.
And this has been a long time thing, folks. They've been doing this for years, using kids as human shields, using adults as human shields, anybody they can get. You know, as I've often said, with Israel, every accusation is a confession. And there's been a lot of people talking about it as well and pointing it out for a long time, what Israelis are doing and how they are the ones who are using Palestinians as human shields and not the other way around. Yeah, and this is happening in West Bank all the time, folks, all the time. There was a Christian church attacked in West Bank. I think I mentioned before, they're saying that it was Palestinians had attacked the Christian church. Of course it wasn't. It was Israeli settlers, according to witnesses on the ground. And it's what they do all the time. I mean, these people hate Christians. They'll claim that they like them. They put a few Christian churches up around Israel. They'll put road signs that are in Hebrew and Arabic and English and say, look, we're not racist. We've got triple language road signs. Why would we be doing that if we were racist or we were apartheid? Well, maybe you'd be doing it just so you can present that fact to the people, because it is an apartheid state. Try being an Arab there and walking on the wrong side of the road. Yeah, there's so much to show that this is an apartheid state. Just look at the way they've got checkpoints and walls all around West Bank, and they spray Palestinian homes with raw sewage infused with sulphur. The worst stink you can get, and it takes days to get off your body. They call it skunk water. I mean, it's obviously an apartheid state, folks, and they do all this sort of stuff and put it all up there just to fool you into thinking that it's not. But, you know, Exhibit A, the Earth. Look what these people have done to the place. Look what they've done to everybody who's ever questioned them. I mean, you can't question them about anything. Even if you even question what they do, you get called an anti-Semite. And they're not even Semitic, most of these people. The people all around them are Semites. The people they're wiping out are Semites. You know, and they put Israel right in the middle of the Arab world. So this is the only Jewish country here, so let's talk about ethnic cleansing. Let's talk about genocide. Why aren't there any Jews in all these other countries around here? Why are they all Muslim? Well, probably because you people are such arseholes and you've been chased out of 109 countries 1,030 times. I mean, why the fuck are they going to let you back? You managed to weasel your way back into the West through the Holocaust, but I think that lie is falling down now as well, folks. I mean, every piece of propaganda they post exposes the lie a little bit more. This place is really coming along, eh? Still a lot of damage here, but it's really coming along. And it's going to be good to see what it looks like at the conference. It really is. But yeah, a lot of pushback, folks. The War Crimes Tribunal started last week. It happened the day after I gave my report last week. And it was brutal, folks. The charges that South Africa levelled against Israel were absolutely undeniable. Going to be very, very difficult for Israel to defend themselves against these charges. Of course, all the propaganda you read on Twitter tells you what a wonderful job they did dismantling and completely obliterating the South African case. Got all these Western politicians saying, oh, the South African case has no merit. No, it was very, very strong evidence supported in that case, and there's been so much come out online since then. Now, thank God the people in Gaza are still able to smuggle some videos out. There's so much bad stuff going on, folks. There's one video I saw was heart-wrenching. There's a doctor amputating the leg of his 16-year-old daughter without anaesthetic because they have no anaesthetic. He's got her basically lying on a bench with her leg up over a bucket while he's cutting off her lower leg. I mean, horrendous stuff. I won't even show you the video. I'll put a link to it below if you want to check it out, but I won't even put it on the report. It's too brutal. So much of this stuff is going on, folks. And You know, people are seeing it. People are seeing it. And like I said, all of our governments are supporting this. They're going to bring out their Disease X this year. And there's already been legislation brought in New York to say that if we even suspect you've been around someone who has an infection, we can now legally lock you up, basically. Grab you, put you in a quarantine centre. This is why a lot of people are leaving New York State. I mean, even Harry Vox, I think, has moved down to Florida or somewhere else. He's gotten away from the place, folks. But this War Crimes Tribunal was a brutal blow to Israel, and hopefully they're going to be found guilty. But even if they are, Bibi Netanyahu has already put out a report saying, we're going to defend ourselves, no one's going to stop us, not the ICJ, not anybody, we're going to continue until our work is done. And he's saying they're going to go on for a year, basically ethnic cleansing Gaza for a year. Don't want everybody gone, folks. There are thousands upon thousands of people living down in Rafah now in a place called Al-Mawasi, which is, as I've said before, it's basically a rubbish tip.
وين بتناموا؟ وين بتناموا؟ ها بتناموا؟ طب وين اللي حتناموا؟ وين بتنام؟ في المستشفى.
Yeah, they've got 85 to 90% of Gaza is now living in that area, folks. 2.3 million people. Of course, they've probably killed the 0.3 million people. Maybe there's 2 million there, maybe there's less. I mean, who knows how many they've actually killed. But they're all got them basically living in a rubbish tip. They bring in the occasional food aid truck, it gets swamped, and if the people even try to get food from it, they shoot them and then say it's Hamas. Hamas is to blame for everything, folks. This generator noise that you're hearing, I'm pretty sure that's Hamas. They've got generators going just to mess up my show. All this hurricane damage that you're seeing around the place, undoubtedly this was Hamas using their weather weapons on Mexico. Because, I mean, it's all Hamas, folks. Hamas does everything wrong, didn't you know? And that was their only defense in the court case as well, in the ICJ. Incredibly articulate and eloquent case brought against them by South Africa. And all they could do was go, Hamas, 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 Hamas. We didn't attack any hospitals. Hamas, 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 Hamas. That was basically their whole defense, folks. Absolutely incredible. Apparently 177 times they said Hamas during the defense presentation. Crazy stuff, folks. Absolutely crazy stuff. I showed you before, I'm pretty sure this is a Hamas terror tunnel over here as well, folks. So obviously they've come to Mexico. So it's everywhere, folks. We've got to watch out for these people. Hamas, 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 Hamas. But yeah, I mean, people are being inspired by this, though. People are seeing the truth, and they're seeing what our Western governments are capable of. You know, all this stuff about your breathing is causing global warming. We've got to stop all the farming because it's better if you don't eat. That's going to save you. That's going to save the world if people don't eat anymore. We want you eating insects and bugs and all sorts of shit. And by the way, folks, start checking your food. If you're buying pre-packaged food, start looking at the labels in there. Start looking at the ingredients of the food. Things as simple as flour and potato chips and corn chips and things like this. If it's like an E09 or an E112, there's a lot of E things in there. Just check out what these things are. You'll find that a lot of common foods these days are having insects added to them. They want you to get these chitins into your body. They don't want you well, folks. They want you to get used to eating bugs. They're training your children to eat bugs at school. For God's sake, pull your children out of government-controlled schools and educate them at home. Be a good way for women to get out of the workforce and become mothers again, because, you know, that's what they should be. That's an incredibly noble role for a woman, and the fact that we don't have mothers anymore, people just give their children to the television and to the school to indoctrinate them. So we're seeing all these out-of-control people around the world, all this violence and all this shit, people smashing up stores and all this shit. If these people had a proper family life, they would never go that way. I mean, I can never think of doing anything like that. And I came from a single-parent family where my mother had to work most of the time. But, you know, I still saw my father, and we still had a good, happy home life in many ways. So, you know, at least I got an education on what was right and what was wrong. And I know not to do the wrong thing by people, and I know what it means to be bad, you know. So we need that. So you're starting to educate your children at home would be a really good thing, folks. Don't put them in these government indoctrination centres. Don't allow them to have vaccines or any of that sort of stuff. It's just killing everybody, folks. But there's been major protests about everything that's going on with this. I mean, the major protests we've seen from the farmers in the Netherlands was incredible. Germany has really been stepping up to the plate in this regard as well. Yeah, so a lot of people are getting it, folks. We're moving into a different world. I mean, we know the world they want to move us into, but I think with everything that's going on and how everything is being exposed, I think if people can put down their fluoridated drinks for a little while and start drinking proper water instead of fluoridated water, and perhaps stop drinking soft drinks and all this shit that's poisoning their brains, maybe they'll get it as well. Yeah, it's interesting to see, you know, people can look at all this stuff and kind of get it, and then they just go straight back into the matrix and continue living their lives and doing what they're doing, watching the programming on the television, and it's remarkable how they just keep falling back into these situations. So, but this is waking a lot of people up. What's going on is waking a lot of people up, folks, and that's why we're seeing so much major pushback. Some people are stepping up to the plate nationally, you know, and not that I like nations or anything, but at least the Houthis are coming to the party and trying to stop the blockade. And look at the result of that. I mean, they bombed a ship or something, didn't kill anybody. They just stopped the ship delivering supplies to Israel. And, you know, going through their territorial waters, they have every right to stop people traveling through their territorial waters. I mean, everybody else would do it. But because it's Yemen, no, you can't do it. The Yemenis, they don't have a right to control their territorial waters, because it's the Straits of Aden, which is a major trade route. That's a lot of the reason why the war even broke out in Yemen like 9 or 10 years ago, because they didn't want these people being able to control the Straits of Aden, because it's really only one ship wide as far as, you know, getting supplies through safely. It's a very, very narrow strait, and, well, you know, not sure you could fit more than one ship through there, but if you were to sink a ship in the Straits of Aden, it would block a lot of international trade, because depending on the angle that you sank it at, you could block off the whole channel. So it'll make it extremely dangerous to pass through anyway. So they stopped one ship going through, they didn't kill anybody. And the result is the United States has dropped hundreds of bombs on them. And now England is going over to drop hundreds more bombs on them. And bombing places are saying, well, it's believed to be a Houthi stronghold.
The U.S. military launched another airstrike in Yemen on a Houthi-controlled site believed to be used by the rebel group to attack commercial ships in the Red Sea. The Houthis have been targeting international shipping routes to show their support for Hamas in their fight against Israel. The Houthis are vowing retaliation for these strikes, prompting the U.S. Navy to warn American ships to stay out of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden for the next 72 hours.
Yeah, believed to be. We don't know. We're just bombing somewhere because it's people we can kill and we can bomb. But we believe that they may be nearby. What sort of a reason is that? It's incredible, folks. So, yeah, I mean, you think about it, though. The Houthis have put a bomb on a ship and killed nobody to simply stop Israel getting supplies. Meanwhile, Israel has displaced 2.3 million people, killed at least 20 or 30,000 people, including at least 12,000 children that we know of, probably more. And here's the Houthis have killed nobody in an attempt to stand up against that genocide. And what happens? The United States goes and bombs them. The United States is funding the genocide. It's giving them weapons, 240 planes full of supplies. That was a couple of weeks ago, had gone there. Not to mention billions and billions of dollars. They're funding this genocide and saying, oh, it's not a genocide. We're doing this to prevent a genocide. That's how backwards Israel is. I know, because that phrase, to the river, from the river to the sea, that means you want to kill all the Israelis. And they went in and they killed 1,400 people, which is genocide. So we've gone in and killed 30,000 and we're about to displace 2.3 million and level every single thing, every building in the Gaza Strip, turn the whole place into a parking lot or an open field, and salt the earth as well by flooding the tunnels, the terror tunnels, with seawater, so nothing will grow there. All the aquifers will be poisoned. There'll be no water, there'll be no food. It won't be inhabitable when they're finished. And they're saying it's not genocide. Oh, we're doing it to prevent a genocide. That's how backwards they are. It's like their backwards version of history. Everything they give you is a logical fallacy, and it's all completely backwards. But people are seeing it, and people are standing up against it, like the Houthis. China has even said they want to see an independent state. You know, as much as we don't want World War III, it would almost be good if someone just went in there and took out the state of Israel, China or Iran or whatever. But of course, that's what they want, which is why they've got the safe zone in Ukraine ready to flee to if that happens. But a lot of people are stepping up to the plate, folks. A lot of people are demanding this genocide stop. We can only hope that the international criminal justice system, or whatever it is, the ICG or the ICJ, I called it the ICC last time, the International Criminal Court. Apparently it's not, it's the International Criminal Justice Court or so, I don't know. Come up with all these fake names for these fake bodies they believe mean something. And as much as I don't respect that legal system, or at least it will maybe provide the world with some sort of a precedent. At least they'll be able to see, well, yes, they've been declared that it's a genocide. Therefore, Israel is supporting genocide, is committing genocide. Therefore, countries that are supporting Israel are supporting genocide. Therefore, they are not worthy of respect anymore. And again, this might be one of the things that brings down the United States. I mean, if Israel is found guilty of genocide, which I'm sure it will be, if it isn't, then it shows us that there is no law on this earth, and the people of the world need to rise up and remove this class, this parasitic class that sits above us, this class of criminal parasites masquerading as politicians. They're in their own class, folks. It's not even the elite, it's not even an oligarch, it's a parasitic class that sits above the world, and they've been parasiting off humanity for a very long time. So if they're not found guilty of war crimes, then it's going to be up to us. And if they're not found guilty of war crimes, like I've said before, it indicates that there is no law. Regardless of what the politicians write on paper, there is no law. Therefore, anything you do against these people is completely justified if it brings about freedom. I mean, these people are murdering humanity in droves. It's like wholesale genocide across the earth, not just through what's going on in Palestine, but also what's going on with the death jab. They claim that disease X is coming, all this sort of shit. Bill Gates out there just jabbing everything he can, jabbing animals, jabbing everything, releasing hordes of mosquitoes and insects into the world. Like, just how this guy's got his finger in so many pies is remarkable. He really is everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's Bill Gates. He's just remarkable. Maybe there's clones of him. I don't know how there's enough hours in the day for him to be involved in as many things as he's involved with. But what else is going on? Like I said, the Houthis have blocked trade going through the Straits of Aden if that trade is bound for Israel. That's the only trade it's blocking. It's still allowing all international trade to go through, but it's blocking supplies to Israel because of the genocide Israel is carrying out. The United States has said, well, we've got a fleet here. We're going to go and attack Yemen because of what they're doing. They're attacking our ships, and it's got nothing to do with Gaza. They're doing it because they're a terrorist state, which is unreal because it's all about Gaza. They've even said we're stopping the ships because it's about Gaza and we're only stopping Israeli ships. So the United States, in its infinite wisdom, has gone and parked ships all around the entrance to the Red Sea and is advising international shipping to stop for the moment while it sorts out this situation, because of course the United States is the world police and they have the right to block everybody off. Yeah, so you've got this whole breakdown of the supply chain happening now around the world, stopping international trade and international shipping, and they're blaming it on the Houthis when it isn't. It's the United States doing it. The Houthis have already said we're not going to be attacking any ships if they're not headed for Israel. We're only interested in ships that are supplying Israel so they can continue their genocide. It's the stand we're going to make against genocide. So you can see how the United States, and of course it's controlled by Israel, is working to exacerbate the situation. They want the whole world, when trade shuts down and suddenly you can't go and buy milk from your local store, or you can't buy corn chips or whatever it is you want. So, well, it's because the Houthis have blocked off trade in the Straits of Aden. No, it isn't. It's because the United States has blocked off trade. But they want everybody up in arms, and the media will spin it, the Western propaganda will spin it. Well, we haven't got this in Australia because Houthis are attacking ships passing through the Red Sea. Yeah, it's all contrived, folks, and it's been done to try to solidify the support against the Houthis. When really the Houthis are standing up against genocide, and they're one of the only people that are doing it, the Houthis in South Africa. Rumours of China doing it, rumours of Iran doing it. Of course, they're Iran-backed. Everybody's Iran-backed in this as well. And like I've said before, Iran hasn't attacked another nation in 275 years. But you can see the way they're doing it, and there's been propaganda videos coming out as well, showing Houthi children with guns. Houthis aren't born as children, they're born as men. And all of this sort of stuff. I've got to wonder who is putting out these videos, who's putting out these posters, this information, because the amount of children they've just killed in Gaza by saying, well, they're training their children to be terrorists, when really it's the other way around. It's Israel who trains their children in military expertise and teaches them to hate the Palestinians. It's the other way around. Palestinians have said, we don't hate Jews, we just hate the occupation. Wouldn't matter who it was occupying our state, we want the occupation over, because they're killing us, they're stealing our land, they're slaughtering our people. A war against Hamas. It's not a war against Hamas. If it was, you wouldn't be terrorising the people in West Bank, stealing their homes and sniping them and blowing them up and all the shit you're doing, using them as human shields, all the stuff I showed you before. So, they've been killing so many children in Gaza and trying to justify it by saying, well, they all grow up to become terrorists. And now, as I said, you've got these pictures coming out of Houthi children saying, yes, well, we're born to fight. I've got to wonder who's putting out these types of images. I would suspect they're probably coming from Israel as well, so that people won't think twice when they start bombing the children in Yemen as well. And this war in Yemen has been brutal, folks. It's been going on for like 9 or 10 years now. There were videos when I used to do a lot of reports for Press TV. There were videos like 9 years ago where I was complaining about the genocide that was happening in Yemen. Thousands of people were facing starvation. It was absolutely brutal what happened. I stopped doing interviews with Press TV a few years ago. I kind of felt sus doing it. Press TV is a government station. Most of these stations are government run. And I don't like the Iranian government more than I like any other government. And also with all of this World War III stuff fomenting, I was in Australia at the time. And I thought, well, they could easily be setting me up here. They could portray me as an enemy sympathiser. If war breaks out with Iran, they could portray me as an enemy sympathiser, and Australia would be a dangerous place to be. And plus they used to ring me up sometimes, like with 15 minutes notice, and say, hey, can you come on? And I'd be like, oh, really, And they used to ring me almost every day, and it got a little bit much. So That's why I stopped doing interviews with Press TV. But it was good. I mean, I could at least say things that I couldn't say on other mainstream media channels. I think they kind of arced up a little bit actually when I put out my last time they interviewed me. They didn't publish the interview, and I spoke about COVID, and I basically said that it's a scam, and your government is just as guilty as every other government, because if they're saying COVID's real, then they're defrauding you, and you need to remove your government. And they're going, well, we can't really say that. I'm saying, well, I know, but I'm saying it for you. At least it went to air on primetime TV, but they didn't post the video on YouTube, so I couldn't share it. I did share the audio of it because I recorded the audio, but and I put up a little bit of text after it, my conversation with him, so I shared it, but you couldn't see the visuals of it. But yeah, folks, a lot of people are getting it, and there's a lot of people that look like they're going to step up to the plate. But like I said, they seem to be portraying the Houthis as being an army of children as well, which is going to give them the means to be able to go and bomb and blow them up. But what they're really doing with it is breaking down the supply chain to and from Europe with this blockade of the Red Sea, the Straits of Aden. And as I've said, they're going to tell you that it's the Houthis doing it, when really it's the United States doing it. The United States is guilty on so many terms. But, you think about how this could bring down the United States. I mean, if Israel is found guilty in this war crimes tribunal, which it should be, then you've got other countries as well. I mean, you've got South Africa saying that it's going to press charges against the United States and the UK and a couple of other people for supporting this genocide as well, if it's successful in this case. And of course, one of the other things Israel is saying, and even the West is saying, well, South Africa's got no leg to stand on when they're talking about genocide and apartheid. I mean, look at the history of that country. And yeah, it's been very bad. They had a terrible apartheid system in there where blacks were terribly oppressed. Suddenly they got freedom, and now whites are terribly oppressed. So there's still an apartheid system going on in the background in South Africa. But wouldn't that make them worthy of talking about it? I mean, they've experienced years and years of this. They know what it looks like. And I think a lot of them are actually probably doing their best to try to stop it. But there's all sorts of factions in there pushing it from the background as well. But if Israel is found guilty of war crimes and genocide, which it really must be, then would that possibly provide the excuse for, because the United States is backing it, China has already spoken out against it and say it wants to see the formation of a Palestinian state. And I've told you this may well be what happens from this. Because the world is up in arms about it, like millions and millions of people. There's only a few countries that support it. The West, the United States, UK, apparently the government of Ireland, the government of Germany, the government of Ukraine, of course, the government of Australia, which is a total embarrassment. But most of the country, I mean, there's 198 countries or 192 countries or something on Earth. You find half a dozen of them support what's going on, support Israel. The rest of them don't. The only reason Israel is getting away with it is because we have the United Nations, which is really a united dictatorship, and Israel and the United States have the ability to veto any decision the United Nations makes, which is why it was all formed. The United Nations is basically a united dictatorship set up there to look like a unified world on paper and to peddle that out to the masses, but really it's just brought everybody under the control of the United States and Israel, because the United States is really a vassal state of Israel. But if war crimes are declared against Israel and genocide is declared, will China foreclose on its loan with the United States, which would crash the US dollar and remove the United States as the world superpower? Might be a world superpower on paper and still have a lot of weapons, but if its dollar isn't worth anything and no one will accept the US dollar, what's it going to do with it? A lot of people are moving over to BRICS because of this, folks, because of what's going on. So it all seems to be part of the same play. Like I've said, I mean, all these governments work together. It's a puppet show. They've got to bring about this new world order that they want in a way that makes it believable. And what is more believable than what they're doing here with Palestine and Gaza and having all these countries arcing up and speaking out against it and all sorts of stuff? It's all a puppet show, folks. They're in Davos sorting things out like last week or something. I don't know if they're still there. Yeah, they have all these meetings, and you find the same people are there. You find all these world leaders from all these people who are opposing Israel and the United States, They'll all be there at these Davos meetings as well. It's one big club, folks. They know what's going on, but they just have to plan it in such a way that the people will believe it and they'll see it as a natural course of events. I mean, if the United States was to crumble and lose its position as the world reserve currency, which is all you have to do to make it crumble, then people would understand why. I mean, look at all the terrible stuff that just happened in Gaza. It was supporting Israel. And, oh my God, we can't allow this to happen. You know, so this huge awakening that's happening can be used against us as well if we're not careful and we don't play our cards right. But if I was in Europe, I'd definitely be stocking up on food, folks. I really would, because there's a good chance things are going to break down in the next couple of months. I mean, I heard talk about the Ides of March, whether that's going to be something to go on. Of course, the Ides of March, I think that's the 15th of March, isn't it? The day in the middle. And, you know, all of this stuff may break down very, very soon. So I'd be stocking up on supplies and building strong community ties if I was in Europe, folks. Get yourself into a position where you can weather the coming storm. Because like I said, they're going to do it, but they're going to try to make it look believable. Like it was a natural course of events, and we had to do this to save the people of Palestine. And the people of Palestine really do need saving, folks. And there's still people out there saying, oh, this is all fake, they're using rubber babies. There's literally people saying that all the people have already been moved out of Gaza, and this is a big film set. They're faking the whole thing. It's unbelievable, folks, that people could even think this. I mean, like I said, I've got friends on the ground in Gaza. I've got contacts on the ground in West Bank as well. There's still people being able to get information out. I mean, they're very resourceful, the Palestinian people, folks. They get an old 2G cell phone that can piggyback off the Israeli network just over the wall. They can charge these things up on old car batteries they find, you know. They're very, very resilient. They're very resourceful people, folks. They have to be. But people that are pushing this as being all fake are working for Israel. Whether they know it or not, they're pushing an Israeli propaganda line to get you distracted and not look at the humanitarian situation that we're dealing with. And also to get you arguing over the whole real or fake concept. Is it real or is it fake? This is what they did with Christchurch. And I was trying to say with Christchurch, it doesn't matter whether it's real or fake, because all the information that you need, all the evidence you need to prosecute the New Zealand government is right there on the shooter's video, and it's not debatable. You don't have to argue whether it was real or fake, whether there's CGI shell casings or any of that shit. It's all a smokescreen. It's all a distraction, because the government, the police, the extra workers, the handlers, they're all visible on the shooter's video, which is why the video was banned within 3 hours. You know? Incredible, folks. But people do what they can to distract you and get you arguing over shit you can't prove either way. You can claim any situation's fake anywhere. Doesn't matter what the situation's doing, what the legislation is going to be used for, how it's going to change your life. Just argue over whether it's real or fake, and don't look at any of that, because then they'll be able to push their agenda forward. And that's what this whole debate over whether what's going on in Gaza is real or fake is all about, folks. It's just people being able to push the Israeli agenda forward, and because people are distracted over arguing over whether it's real or fake. Like I said, folks, the people that are pushing this work for Israel. Some of them just may not know that.
Hey everyone, this is Wissam from Gaza. I'm still alive. I'm surviving after the day 3 after 100. But that might be the last day or the last night in Nasser Medical Complex, as the hospital is near to the invasion. The tanks are maybe 40 to 50 meters away from us. The soldiers as well. So the situation is really hard. The carpet bombing before this moment was just unbelievable. The bombings are really loud and are so close to us. The situation is complicated. I'm trying to find any internet connection to tell you what is happening. But Nasser Medical Complex is now near to be invaded. It's the last functioning hospital. I'm trying to find any internet connection so I can tell you what is happening. The carpet bombing, the ambulances could not even reach the injuries, or the people were killed and injured because of the carpet bombing in the areas of Batn Samin, Gizan, Najjar, Jort al-Lut, the west and the south of Khan Yunis refugee camp. People who are displaced inside the hospital, dozens of thousands, are just moving randomly, cannot find any place to go. They tried to go to the schools around the hospital or even to the refugee camp itself.
Yeah, changing times, folks, changing world. We're going to see massive changes this year. Whether it's going to be good or whether it's going to be bad, well, it's going to be up to us. But, you know, a really encouraging thing is, like I said before, the amount of propaganda that Israel has got to post on Twitter and places like that. Like, they're literally posting stuff like every hour, multiple times an hour. Bring them home, bring them home. We will never stop until they're home. All the hostages are home. They bombed all the hostages, folks. If there are any even there, they bombed them all. There were some girls out there looking like they were all bombed. I showed you on the last video. Oh, we're all here, we're all, you know, messed up. It's actually video footage that was released like 2 weeks before that of these same women all dancing. It's just a photo shoot, folks. It's just propaganda. There was one hostage that you probably saw who was released by Hamas, and a video was released of him shaking their hands and going, yeah, you, and shaking his hand, and, you know, they were very happy. He was actually at a protest in Israel, protesting the slaughter that's going on in Gaza, and the police brutalized him, arrested him, beat him, disgusting stuff.
Itai, you happy? Okay.
Yeah, folks, and that's one of the actual hostages that we saw released. And a lot of them have said, you know, they were really good to us. There was one woman who said they treated us like queens. Now she's on TV saying, oh, it was terrible, I was scared for my life, they were raping people, and, you know, I didn't have any satisfaction until I found someone I could talk to. The exact opposite, polar opposite of what she said when she first came out. I don't know if there's any video footage of her saying this. It's just a picture in a paper and then claims that she said this. But if you really look into it, folks, you're going to find that a lot of the people that were released as hostages have been arrested and detained, and they're being held in detention centres for their own safety, of course, you know, protective custody. Because I don't want them talking to the press. I don't want them getting the story out that, hey, no, Hamas are not bad. They're not hurting us. They haven't raped anyone. All of the people who are being killed by Israeli bombs. People who put out reports saying that, yeah, I mean, we were scared for our lives while we were there, but not from Hamas. We were scared of the IDF bombs that were going off around us.
A lot of my friends, a lot of my Israeli friends are activists. They're terrified to speak out. You know, the very small protests for a ceasefire, small but growing protests for a ceasefire, the people who go out and call for a ceasefire, they are risking their own safety. You know, there's lots of Israeli activists and Palestinian citizens of Israel who are targeted from within. And it's a very, very scary time for them. And not to mention, these are people who are speaking out, having lost family members, friends, community members on October 7th.
There were 3 hostages, 2 men and a woman that they were talking about the other day. The woman's still alive, the 2 men are dead. Of course, Israeli media is saying they were killed by Hamas. The woman actually went on TV and said, no, actually they were killed by Israeli bombs. But of course, the Israelis are saying, no, Hamas threatened her. She had to do that. They made her get up there and make a false testimony. You know, the propaganda is just through the roof, folks. And that is, like I said, very encouraging. They've got to work so hard to try to maintain the narrative. Meanwhile, they're being exposed to everything they're doing. Got Jews running tunnel systems below New York and literally coming out of the sewers when they get caught. And don't think that these tunnel systems are just under this one Chabad headquarters in Brooklyn, folks. These tunnel systems are everywhere. They're in every country. In Adelaide, where I grew up, there's a huge underground tunnel system in Adelaide that's used for trafficking children. I used to play in these tunnels when I was a kid. I didn't know what they were used for then. I did an interview with Rachel Vaughan a few years ago, who was connected to the Beaumont killings in Australia. And she exposed it, you know, it was her father was involved. She exposed the guy, Anthony Mundine, who actually really did it, or Anthony Munro, sorry, not Mundine, Munro, who actually killed the Beaumonts. Her father helped dispose of the bodies. They're buried in a sinkhole just outside of Stansbury on the York Peninsula in South Australia. Apparently some people are going over to investigate that as well. So good luck with that. I wish you every success. But these tunnel systems are everywhere. They're in New York, they're in LA, they're in all major cities, they're beneath Paris, beneath Rome. Look at the catacombs of Paris. There are all those millions of bodies below Paris in the catacombs. Where do you think all they came from, folks? You know, it's a worldwide system that's been going on for a long time, and they're fully being exposed. And all the propaganda they put out is just waking more and more people up because it's so freaking obvious. Why do you need to put out this level of propaganda if you're in the right and the world has got your back and the world's standing with you? The world's turning against them, folks. The entire world is turning against them. The numbers of supporters they've got are dwindling more and more all the time. They're clutching at every straw they can to try to portray people as being Hamas supporters if you're speaking out against Israel, when really they're genocide supporters who are speaking up for Israel, and they're anti-genocide rallies that we're seeing around the world. As I said, you know, the more propaganda they push out, the more incredible their story becomes. You know, when I say incredible, I mean having no credibility. That's what incredible actually means, folks. Did you know that? A lot of people don't. I think incredible means fantastic, you know. No, it means it has no credibility. It's an incredible story. The stories of UFOs, these are incredible stories, you know, because they have no basis in fact, no basis in credibility. And I'm not saying UFOs, I mean, just, you know what I mean, I'm just explaining how the word works. People don't even understand the language they use, folks. A lot of them don't. Even the word understand, because a lot of people know that to understand is to stand under someone else's dictates and someone else's commands. So, hey boys, how are you?
Good, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you. There's the crew here working on the garden, folks. Lots of people here doing really good stuff.
Again, bro.
It's good to see you coming along. So
Thanks
cool.
for putting me in the other video, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hey.
Thanks for helping out.
You don't drink coffee, so I got some green tea for us later if you want.
No, it's all good. I got stuff to do.
No,
so.
I mean later, whenever.
Yeah, all good. Not a problem.
Give you a shout.
Good to see you.
Adios, amigo.
Yeah, a lot of people here sorting the place out, folks. It's really good to see. I don't even know where I was now. I've lost my train of thought. Incredible. Incredible. I was talking about words, but anyway, I mean, you get the picture, folks. And you know, with what's going on now with the Straits of Aden and what's going on in the Red Sea, you can see this is actually the United States doing it. It's not the Houthis, it's the United States. And as I said before, they're setting the Houthi children up for a massacre as well with these shots. But Israel propaganda is really failing in so many ways. You know, 100 days people have been imprisoned in the tunnels. Meanwhile, they've been carpet bombing the whole place. If there's anybody there, they've already been bombed by Israel. They're already dead. Except maybe a few lucky people who might not be. But I'd say most of them are, if they even existed at all. Most of them will be dead by now. And they're still pushing this bring them home slogan. And they're also pushing the 100 days thing. Well, you know, it's been 100 days for the people of Palestine as well. 100 days of brutal attacks. You can't sleep, you can't do anything. Bombs are going off all the time. The whole suburbs being leveled. Bulldozers coming through and bulldozing over what they've bombed. Just completely and utterly destroying every single thing that they can. Like I showed you before, that beautiful home. There's no reason for them to have destroyed that. There's no reason for them to have blown up universities and schools and shopping centres and everything they had. There's no reason for it. And now they've got everybody down in Al-Mawasi. I guarantee they're going to say that there's Hamas tunnels under Al-Mawasi, and they'll start bombing that as well. You know, shooting the food aid trucks that come in, by putting all this propaganda into saying, oh, we sent in 90 food trucks. So are you telling us Hamas hijacked 90 food trucks, are you? Or did you just send in 2 food trucks? One for Hamas to hijack, or maybe they didn't, maybe you just staged that yourself, we don't know, because the information is coming from Israeli sources. You know, that video that came out there that you saw of the truck with the guy on the back with a Kalashnikov, that could just be a Jew with holding a Kalashnikov, you don't know. And who took the video? It didn't come out of Palestine, it came out of Israel. So who took the video? Where was that really being filmed? Maybe that was somewhere in northern Gaza, some little town that they've left standing so they can film their little bits of propaganda. Have a few people wandering around, so it looks like there's a couple of kids around. But it obviously isn't in Rafah, because there are millions of people in Rafah. So it wasn't coming in the southern border, that truck. And the other truck they did bring in the southern border, like I showed you, it got mobbed. These people are starving. There's been 14 people, at least 14 people, die of starvation in the last couple of weeks, folks. 9,000 children have had limbs amputated and lost a parent. Every day they're saying at least 2 children lose at least 1 or 2 limbs every single day in Gaza Strip. It's incredible the amount of damage that's being done and the propaganda they're putting out to try to cover all this up. So, you know, a lot of people are getting it. A lot of people see what's going on, folks, and you know, it's working against Israel in so many ways. People are just seeing the reality of the situation. So, you know, we've got to be on this. We've got to keep on this and keep on this topic and let people know how it's affecting the world situation. You know, World War III and the Great Reset, they've already said they're failing. It's all very well for them to lead, and all the leaders are coming together. They're believing in themselves. The elites are trusting themselves more and more. But the trust in the elites is becoming less and less. So it doesn't matter if they're going to lead. If people don't follow, then it's not going to work. And that's the situation that we're in. People simply aren't following anymore. And the more they support this Israeli genocide, and the worse Israel continues it and continues to slaughter these Palestinian people and claim they're the victim while they're doing it, absolutely freaking absurd. Oh, we're doing it to prevent genocide. We're carrying out a genocide to prevent a genocide. This makes absolutely no sense. You know, oh, they want to kill us because we're Jews. No, you want to kill them because you're Palestinians and you have no claim to the land. Like I said, folks, go and watch that video below, put out by the Australian guy called Israel is Not Indigenous. It's got some really good information on there, and watch it a couple of times. Let it sink into your head what he's actually saying there. Very, very, very well done, and great research, and I commend the guy for doing it. I don't know his name, but whoever did it, I commend you for that video. It's a very, very good and useful contribution to this battle that we're in. But all of this stuff is coming to light now, folks, and that gives us the ability to change the world. It really does. Do you realise we're not going to find political remedy? These leaders need to act now, or they've abdicated their privilege to lead. It's as simple as that. And if they're going to be supporting what Israel's doing, then you owe them no allegiance. Everybody really owes their allegiance to humanity, folks. To humanity. Whatever race, creed, or colour you're from, it's about humanity. It's about humanity and people being played off against each other by politicians who do not have your interests at heart. None of these politicians have anybody's interests at heart but their own, folks. None of them do. Showed you this wall before. It's great, all this sort of artwork through Mexico, folks. I love it, the way people just create creative stuff and just beautify everything that they can. Even the architecture and stuff, all the little rounded corners and just the way they build the buildings. It's a great country, it really is. Great people. But you know, you find good people everywhere, all around the world, folks. People that want to live artistic lifestyles. Hola. Hola. Which way? This way? So, yeah. So we have an opportunity to really step into our humanity this year, folks. And I think we're going to. I think we've got this. As dystopian as it gets, perhaps this is what it needed. Perhaps this is what was needed to shock people out of their slumber, you know? I mean, let's face it, the world has certainly been asleep for a long time. You know, and none of this could have gone down to begin with, you know? People have been sleepwalking through their lives, sleepwalking through reality, trusting their government, trusting their media, trusting their education system, instead of trusting themselves, trusting their own intuition, trusting their own heart. And I think a lot of what's happening is going to bring us together. Of course, the media is going to try to spin it, and it'll be quite exciting as well. When World War III breaks out in earnest, everyone's going to get excited. They're going to start watching it. They're going to be barracking for a certain team or whatever, you know. A lot of them aren't going to realise that it's all theatre when it is. So, you know, it's easy to do that. It's tempting to do that, you know. Yeah, they're going in to pummel Israel, and they're going in to pummel this guy, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and I'm on this team. You know, that's all very well. I'm sure get into the excitement of it if you want to. But again, look at how the situation is going to be used, what legislation is going to be introduced because of it to protect you, of course, and what our countries are going to look like when this is over. Think about all that, and don't let yourself get led into this dystopia simply because you're focused on which team you're barracking for in the war. Yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into, folks. An easy trap to fall into. And, you know, we've got to be careful of that sort of stuff. You know, they're trying to restructure the world and bring about their great reset, and they've got a lot of cards up their sleeve. And it's got to be done in a certain way, as I've said, whereby it can be believed by people. People just think it's a natural course of events that this happened. Oh, we've got to blame Hamas, or we've got to blame Israel, or we've got to blame whatever. It gives us an opportunity to step into our own power, folks. And again, no, I don't hate all the Jews, but goddamn, I'm disgusted with them. I'm disgusted with how many people in Israel just say it's great killing Palestinians and they deserve to die and all the bullshit. But again, it's because of the programming they've had. Like I said, you can get any of them, folks. They'll tell you a completely false version of history. And in their history, the Palestinians are less than animals. These people came in and stole their country in 1948. And they've been invading them ever since. Precisely the opposite of what actually happened. And they'll give you all these logical fallacies. Well, if Palestine existed before 1948, show me the Palestinian flag they had before 1948. Show me the capital city of Palestine. Show me the president of Palestine. Show me all these people. You know, all logical fallacies, folks. Back in those days, I mean, all of this stuff, nations and flags and all this crap, this is all like 20th century inventions. Like I've said before, the land of Arabia, which encompassed Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, a lot of stuff. Where did you see a flag for Arabia? Who was the king of Arabia? Where was the capital of Arabia? The land of Persia, the land of Egypt. All of these places, you know, capital cities and flags and rulers and shit, Sure, they had pharaohs in ancient Egypt, but you know, all the shit they teach you, it's all logical fallacies. Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire. Had been for years. Doesn't matter. I mean, you look at Europe. You got Germany, France, all these sort of people. They're all part of the EU. Does that mean they don't have their own sovereignty? Does that mean German is not a different country to France, and that Germans don't exist, and that France doesn't exist, and Croatia doesn't exist? None of these countries in the EU would exist according to this logic. Well, it was part of the Ottoman Empire, therefore it didn't exist. There was no Palestine because it was part of the Ottoman Empire. Well, every country in Europe is part of the European Union. Does that mean they don't exist? They're not countries anymore. Because that's where we're sort of going with this. So, you know, it's all logical fallacies, folks. And like I said, this is a huge opportunity for freedom. It's a huge opportunity for us to see what's going on. And I don't think they're going to win. I really don't. So as I said before, folks, this is the time to expect the unexpected. This is the time for you to really step into what it means to be a warrior, to walk the path of the warrior, to face infinity without flinching. When the world changes into whatever it changes into, be prepared to just step onto that path and do what is best for you to get yourself through to the other side. Don't fight battles you can't win. Make sure you bring your consciousness out the other side as unscathed as possible and as pure as possible. The knack of being able to face with serenity odds and circumstances that are not included in your calculations, and to simply step onto that path and walk that path. It's okay. Most of the stuff that we think is there around us, that we perceive to be our security blankets, home, shopping centres, all this sort of stuff, all this might disappear. You might have to just pack up from your home and move to another country one day, like I did when I came here to Mexico, because it needed to be done. So you just do it. And you know, it could be dramatic. When I came here, I mean, I got kicked off everything. I came here, they went and visited my family at home, the police. They shut my bank accounts down, cut off all my finances. There was a big hurdle in my life to get over, but I just simply walked into it, went with the flow, and did it. And I got through. It's a beautiful place, isn't it? It is, even with the generator going, even with the hurricane damage. I mean, a lot of hurricane damage, folks, but it's still a beautiful place. Look at the damage up here. A lot of the trees are sort of blown out. Got a bit of a cough happening today, folks. Keep having to turn the video around and cough. But yeah, that generator's getting a bit much. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope people can see the opportunity that this is providing. As I put out a show a few weeks ago called The Matrix is Collapsing. And the reason I put out that show, and what I'm talking about with the Matrix collapsing, is that it's collapsing because people can see it now. People can see the control grid for what it is. Because the belief in authority, the belief that the system is real, that is the Matrix. People think of the Matrix, they think, oh, it's the laws they write down, it's the legal system, it's the politicians. That's all part of it, but it's your belief that that authority is real. It's really a psychological thing. The Matrix is completely psychological. Why would you believe you need rulers? Why would you believe a word these people say? Why would you believe you have to go by a legal system that you don't understand, you didn't agree with? People say, oh, I'm enslaved by my birth certificate and all these agreements. And all. You didn't know about them. None of these contracts are valid because a contract has to have transparency. Both people are in agreement of it. There's all this sort of stuff in the contract that you would never agree with, and you didn't know was there. So therefore, it's not a valid contract. It's just because they write it down on paper, and it's the spell that binds you, the spelling. That's why they teach you to spell. That's what spelling is. You know, there's no power that exists between you and God, whatever you perceive God to be. And this is an opportunity for people to realise that all these rules they write on paper actually mean nothing. And that's what's breaking down. people's belief in authority. People's belief that somehow what's going on in Gaza could be construed as right and self-defense, and they're doing it to attempt to stop genocide. It's just like backwards thinking. I mean, they get people to think backwards everywhere. Like I said, everything Israel says is backwards. Its whole existence is based on lies and logical fallacies and false history. But people can't really see through it. It becomes a little confusing for them. But when you see something like them carrying out a genocide, claiming they're doing it to stop a genocide, it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. And like I showed you at the beginning there, those two women saying, well, we never really realised before, but now we see. And we never realised because we'd never really looked at it. Because there had never been a situation as drastic as what they see in Gaza, which never caused them to look at it. So, yeah, you know, a lot of people are getting it, folks, and that is how the Matrix is breaking down. You know, folks, I'm seriously about to run out of battery. I've gone on a lot longer than I expected. Again, this is where Acapulco is going to be held, folks, so if you're coming to Acapulco, do get in and get your ticket. Use my name, Egan, my last name, I-G-A-N. We'll get yourself a 10% discount. Thank you to all the people who send me so many kind emails. Thank you to anybody who's ever made a contribution. All the same, thank yous that I always give you, folks. Thank you to anybody speaking out on the front line. Make your voices heard, folks, as loud as you can now. We really need people to step up. If you've ever thought about stepping up and speaking to your friends and speaking to people and making a stand for what is right in the world, now is the time to do it. Enough people get involved, we can change the world. We could do it today. We could do it this week, but I think we will definitely do it this year. I really think that they're not going to get away with it, folks. And if the world just stands up for itself, then we got this. Again, don't be too distracted by the theatre of war. All of this is expected. Like I said, they've just got to do it in such a way that it is believable. That's what they're hoping for, that you'll just buy into it and become a spectator, and then allow the government to do whatever it needs to do to protect you from what just happened and create a secure future for you, when really it's them who just did everything that just happened, and the secure future isn't for you, it's for them. Our best security would be to get rid of them. But anyway, folks, I better leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. I'm going to leave you with a song by a friend of mine in the United States from Presence Music. I bought you a couple of his video clips before. Here's a new one that he's put out for Palestine, and I think you'll enjoy it. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon, folks. Peace. Take very good care until then. In Lakesh.
I wish that we could end the war today. Sing and pray for all the lives that we've lost. I wish that we could end the war today, but for now the highest action is to sing and pray. We got to sing and pray for all the lives that we've lost. Singing and praying. Historically, the worst atrocities committed by humanity, always done under the illusion of authority, when individuals abdicate their personal responsibility to carry out hateful orders commanded by a state. Authority is immoral when people blindly follow orders instead of conscience. It always leads to horrors like the genocides committed under countless regimes. Bolsheviks and Soviets and Maoist Chinese. But like a drone bomber, Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize despite more violence than any other to take the Oval Office. Ironic, but the real problem is the camel costume order followers the politicians call their dogs. State of Israel doing the same and it's making me nauseous. Call it a war, but in reality it's just a slaughter. Netanyahu got his dogs out and we had better stop him. Violations of natural law face the judgments of God. I wish that we could end the war today, but for now the highest action is to sing and pray. We got to sing and pray for all the lives that we've lost. Singing and praying for sacred lives that we've lost. Yes, I wish that we could end the war today, but for now the highest action is to sing and pray. We got to sing and pray for all the lives that we've lost. Singing and praying. Yeah, I'm so tired of terrorists, media mongering, machines telling us to pick a side and invest in their schemes. They lie to divide, paralyze the state of defeat. The only side to choose is whether you pro-war or you pro-peace. That's what I'm sending to Palestine. The people in need, as bombs raining down on innocent civilians, they bleed. Bullets popping, white phosphorus dropping. Gaza cannot be seen, no sign of hostages that Hamas ostensibly holding. They bomb the hospital, death tolls exploding every day. 10,000, 15,000, many more lost in the rubble is what they say. It's a genocide. Zionists always pointing the finger of blame, claiming they are the victims. Once again, inversion of name in the game. Not for the hate, murderous ways. Gather your faith, don't take the bait. We walk in peace, we live in peace, and we demand
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, fuck you, Klaus Schwab, and fuck your New World Order. We, the people, were born free, we will stay free, and you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go fuck yourself.